Today is May 26th, 2022. My name is Joe Todd. This is an interview with R.J. Wilkins in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. So, where were you born?
Lakenheath RAF, United Kingdom.
Lakenheath.
Mm-hmm.
L-A-K-E-N...
H-E-A-T-H. Yeah.
When's your birthday?
December 14th, 1989.
1989. Your father's in the military?
Yes.
Air Force?
Air Force.
Okay. Did you start school in England?
No, I did not.
Okay.
We left England when I was 2 years old.
Okay. And you moved to?
We moved to Castle Air Force Base, California.
What part of California is that located?
Northern California.
Okay.
Atwater.
Okay, Atwater. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Who is your father?
Robert Wilkins.
Robert Wilkins.
Yep.
And your mother?
Julia Wilkins.
What was her maiden name?
Malherbe. M-A-L-H-E-R-B-E.
Okay. Where'd you start school?
I started school in Sumpter, South Carolina. We left California in 1994, went to South Carolina.
Okay.
And that's when I started school.
How long did you go to Sumpter?
We were in Sumpter from 1994 to 1998.
Okay.
And I was in school in Sumpter from kindergarten to second grade.
Okay. Then where'd you move?
I moved to Elmendorf Air Force Base, Alaska.
Okay. And went to school there?
I went to school there, and then I finished school there.
Okay. You graduated what year?
2008.
2008. Who was your favorite teacher?
Oh gosh, I had quite a few of them. I had quite a few of them in high school. I can't even think of. I can tell you that my favorite was she taught my government class my senior year. I can't think of her name right now.
In Alaska?
In Alaska at Chugiak High School.
What's the name of the high school?
Chugiak. C-H-U-G-I-A-K.
Why was she your favorite?
Oh gosh, she was just very informative, and her style of teaching was she gave us an outline that we'd have to listen to her lecture and fill in the blanks, but it was a 45-minute period, and she would just sit there and she would turn what would be normally a boring lecture into something you were just engrossed into. Mm-hmm. And I think she knew it too, because she would say something we were supposed to write down, and we're so engrossed that we didn't realize that, oh, that's something we need to write down. But I retained a lot of information. I took U.S. government from her. I still refer back to a lot of her teachings for U.S. government. I had her my sophomore year for U.S. history too. Mm-hmm. So a lot of, I mean, she would sit up there. We did interactive activities, but just her delivery method, she found a boring lecture way into you wanted to sit there and listen and learn from her.
Yeah, okay.
And I can't remember her name now. Wow.
What did you do after high school?
After high school, I attended the University of Alaska, Anchorage, with a intention to get my degree in GIS, specialty or specialization.
GIS.
Geographical Information Systems, surveying the land.
Okay.
I did not know what GIS was. I just signed it up. I thought it was something to do with weather. I also worked full-time on Elmendorf. I worked for non-appropriated funds. Okay. I worked at the the gym on base.
And how long are you in Alaska?
We drove up from Sumpter to Anchorage, May of 1998, and
That was a long drive, wasn't it?
yes, it was. It was a 7-day trip. We did not. Some people that drive, they go to Bellingham, Washington to take the ferry. We did not. We drove through. Our point of entry to Canada was through North Dakota on I-29 into Manitoba.
Okay.
And it probably could have been stretched out longer, but my father was wake up at 6 a.m. and let's drive until 7 p.m. and maybe stop for lunch.
So you were on the Alcan Highway?
We took the Alcan Highway. There was several parts on the Alaska Highway, about British Columbia, that was under construction. So I have a lot of memories of waiting for the pace car to come across and then take us back on the one-lane highway, and there was no guardrails. So you could just look right over, and it was not pretty. I survived the trip once. I was in 2nd grade, and from now on, I will fly.
How long were you at the University of Alaska?
I was at UAA for 2 years, from fall of 2008 until almost 2 years, actually. I left spring of 2010 to come to Oklahoma.
Okay. Why'd you come to Oklahoma?
I came to Oklahoma because I had always hoped Dad would get stationed here because I like weather. We never got stationed here, and then I also learned that with his MO, we would have not been stationed at Tinker. We would have been stationed at either Enid or Altus. And I'm sorry, I have had the pleasure to visit Altus. I'm okay we didn't get stationed there. Still would have been an adventure, though. But I wanted to go to the University of Oklahoma to study meteorology.
And that's what you did?
No, I did not. I did 1 year at OU, and it was absolutely just way too big of a university for me. Class of 60, way too many people. So
There were 60 in your high school class?
no, my high school class was 370.
Oh, 370. Okay.
Yes, we were one of the largest. We were one of the largest incoming freshman classes, and then we still, with dropouts and moving and all those other factors, we were still one of the largest graduating classes in several years.
Okay. And so you had 60 in your class at OU?
Yes, one of my classes I was attending had 60 people, and that was just way too many people. Anchorage is a big city, but man, too many people in one room. And also, too, I started taking some meteorology classes, and I discovered meteorology is a hobby, not what I want to do for a career. I was getting burned out.
So what'd you do?
I got a job with the Middale Public Schools as a paraeducator.
Now, what's a paraeducator?
Paraeducator is just a fancy language for a student aide. There is the teacher's aide who comes in and assists the teacher. The paraeducator is somebody who comes in and assists the students.
Okay.
A lot of, mostly students with special needs. So if they need help with being in the classroom, everything from somebody to help them get through their day's work or any kind of task to help them get through their day, really and truly. That's what I did. So I got that job, and my mother has worked in the schools for many years, special education, and I took the job I've never been in charge or done anything with the schools other than helping in her classroom or her kids. But I started talking to other teachers, and then I started working with my assigned kids. I had 2 that I was first assigned with, and I realized I kind of want to do this. This is what I kind of want to go into. So I switched and did my research to the University of Central Oklahoma, and I started in their special education program for my 4-year degree.
Okay. Now, did the whole family move to Oklahoma?
The whole family did not. I moved here myself. Plane touched down August 16th, 2010. Mom and Dad are still in Alaska. Dad is retired from the Air Force, but still works full-time on base. And then Mom still works with the schools in Anchorage full-time.
Okay. So your family's still in Alaska?
Only my parents.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So you started at University of Central Oklahoma.
Correct.
Got your 4-year degree?
I finally got through and got my 4-year degree.
Okay. Now tell me about this program you're with Chloe. What?
So in 2011, I interviewed and was offered the para job with Eastside Elementary, part of Middell Schools, and my assignment was 2 students that were incoming into the 2nd grade, and they needed a para to be in the classroom to help them.
Mm-hmm.
So, accepted the job, and first day of school I had butterflies in my stomach because I have never been. One, I was coming back to elementary school, 2nd grade. 2, I met the kids briefly, and all I had was experience, really and truly, was the years I had been in rooms with Mom and helping her students. This time I'm on my own. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have assistants and I have my teacher, but first day of school came, and I got with Chloe, and then my other kid, his name was Hunter. I met both of them, and so the only thing I knew how to do, kind of what we did with first day of school, we're just kind of getting to know each other, even the 2nd grade. I mean, even the teacher, we're just kind of having activities to get to know one another. I'm still trying to figure out my role as a para with the kids. How close do I stay with the kids? Do I just stay in the room and as needed, what help is needed? Because another reason for a para to be possibly assigned into a room is kids could possibly still have behaviors that require the para to intervene and address those behaviors. So I'm still getting to know these kids and what if they do have these behaviors and how to handle them. So that's how the first few weeks started, was getting to know the kids.
I'd like to ask, what prerequisites did you have to become a para?
There is for the state of Oklahoma, I did have to go and take what is known as the parapro test. The parapro test is for, so you can become a certified paraprofessional through the state of Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. The parapro test was it was a test to see if you are qualified to be able to assist the students with intellectual questions. If you would be able to help them with math questions, will you be able to help them with science questions, academics. The other prerequisite, that was really and truly the only one that was mandated by the state. Of course, other prerequisites would be it's really an entry-level position,
Okay.
like a teacher's aide. Teacher's aide is another form of an aide, but they come in and help with like the preschool teachers,
Okay.
non-special ed.
Why did the two students need a para?
My two students needed a para because one, they were both on individual education plans, also known as IEPs. And in that IEP, one of the students, it was requested that it was part of their plan to have a para to come in because they needed help with writing, they needed help with organizational skills, and they needed just a little bit more help. My two students, Chloe and Hunter, I was assigned to them because one of them had a diagnosis of autism, and he did have some behaviors that we needed to try to extinguish or find other behaviors to replace those behaviors. But also, I mean, the teacher's responsibility is to teach the class as a whole. So when you have these two students that need the extra help, that's where the para comes in.
Okay.
So.
Now, what did you do with the students?
What did I do with the
Yes,
students?
yes.
Okay. My primary focus was Chloe.
Okay.
My primary focus was Chloe because my other student at the time was able to receive services from the special education teacher.
Okay.
So if he acted out or if he required some attention or if he needed to leave the room, well, it was in his IEP to go to the special education teacher. My other student, Chloe, did not have those services, so
Why
I was
did Chloe
trying with
need
her.
a para?
Chloe needed a para.
Well, why?
Chloe needed a para because she required assistance with handwriting. She required assistance with focusing on what the teacher was having, the lessons of the teacher. Chloe needed a para to help her with implementing any strategies to help her get through her daily day, such as one of her skills we worked on, she would blurt out anything and everything that was on her mind. So one of the tasks that I had to try to do was to help her not to do that, and when it was appropriate to talk or not to talk. When it was time for Chloe to write to do a worksheet or to do any test, I had to help her with her handwriting. Sometimes I was her hands, or I would help her with kind of dictating sometimes. So she would tell me what she wants to say, and then I would write it for her. That's kind of what it did. When I first got assigned to her, I realized I had to be next to her for these reasons. So in the beginning, we sat together because Chloe also needed help with seeing things. She was visually impaired, so she needed large print books. She could not carry those large print books because they were too heavy. I would carry them. Yeah, I had to. I was next to her.
What was her
almost all day.
disability?
So Chloe's official diagnosis was, at least on the IEP, was I think it was actually OHI or OIH, other other health implications. Basically, it was a catch-all because she had several disabilities. Chloe did also have autistic tendencies as well. She did not have the official diagnosis of autism, but she had some autistic tendencies of, she also would have obsessive compulsive disorder. That was another one of my jobs, she would pick her own skin. If she had a hangnail, she would focus on that hangnail. And that was all she would focus on. So I had to divert her focus back off of that hangnail, and we got to focus on to what the teacher's saying. So she had OCD. Chloe also had
what is OCD?
Obsessive compulsive disorder.
Okay, yes.
Chloe also had she had a diagnosis of something called PANDAS. PANDAS, if I remember correctly, had something to do with to those that were or have been exposed to streptococcus or strep throat, is what it's formally or more commonly known as. To give an example of PANDAS, when streptococcus when she was about ready to get sick, or she would get a strep throat, which was frequently, a symptom of PANDAS was going and eating foreign objects. So I've witnessed Chloe eating dirt out on the playground, and I knew that is, she's sick. She needs to go to the doctor. Probably strep throat. So she had the diagnosis of PANDAS. She had the vision impairment. She had fine motor skills that we needed to work on. Chloe had cerebral palsy and had to wear a brace full time on her left leg. So another reason for my existence with her was I had to make sure that when I met her I would meet her on the bus whenever she would come to school, and if it was snowing or ice, there was a couple times I would carry her into the school, because a slip and fall for her would have been just absolutely devastating. So I was there a lot for her. Everything from physical, helping with behaviors. I was with her.
How many hours a day were you with her?
So it started off with, I was there for a full school day, so about 6.5 hours, I believe. I did not go to lunch or recess with her. I did go to her activity with her, so music, art, gym. I did go with her to those. And I guess as time faded, part of being a para also too is I'm supposed to be working myself out of a job, if you will. Because the main goal is we're trying to get the students and as independent as possible without help. So I would also, part of my job also was to pull away my services and see how she would do, how well she would float on her own. So eventually, a couple years later, I was able to she went to activity by herself, but I still I would try to pull away and not sit next to her, and it wasn't working. So I would have to move closer back to her and then report back to the teachers and therapists of what's happening.
So, as a para, Do you have a chain of command in the para organization, or
Yes.
who do you report to?
So there's me. I'm the para. I report to the special education teacher.
Okay.
Specifically, the special education teacher that is the teacher on record for Chloe and Hunter is who I reported to. And then, of course, also the teacher, the general education teacher. So whoever's room I'm in, I reported her to. But and then from there it goes up to the principal and special education, and from there.
Now, is there improvement in Hunter and Chloe? Is there improvement?
Mm-hmm. There was improvement that we had. As they got older, we were able to start implementing some other services for them. An example would be in 4th grade, Chloe got assigned a laptop computer to allow for her to scan her workbook pages or any pages, and then Chloe would be able to type in her answers. And that would replace me on handwriting her answers for her. So she's doing that independently. However, that required training her on how to use the computer. Which then, when we were trying to train with the computer, we discovered it wasn't really working. It was too many steps. Hunter, we saw improvement with him. Hunter had a lot of behaviors. He had, and they were just disruptive behaviors. I tried to extinguish. Nothing explosive. Where he wasn't improving though, and we found out that was an intellectual problem, was the curriculum would move up, and he wouldn't. He had no interest, or we could put a science book in front of him and he wouldn't know how to retain it. And those are things I reported back to my special ed teacher, and then they adjusted accordingly.
Okay. How long do you work as a para?
Oh gosh. I worked as a para about 8 years. It's really hard to think of years because a school year is 9 months compared to a full year being 12 years, and 9 years or 8 years. It's 8 years.
How long did you work with Hunter and Chloe?
I had Hunter and Chloe from 2nd grade to halfway through their 5th grade year.
Okay.
So from August of 2011 till March of 2015.
Okay. Tell me about Hunter. What kind of person is Hunter?
Hunter is very energetic and had more energy than I could ever. I wish I could have just bottled it up and he could have gave it to me. He loved cars. We would draw, we would talk forever about cars, and that's one thing, he would fixate on cars and speedometers and odometers, and we would talk about them and we would count them. And that was one way I would get him to work for me, was I would tell him, you can draw me an odometer after we finish 2 worksheets. And then he would draw me an odometer, and okay, we would talk about it for 2 minutes, and then we would do if there was more work that was assigned, we would go and do that.
Okay.
And I would increase the workload. I would increase, say, for the worksheets before he would allow me to draw me an odometer. But he was a very, very, very active child. He could not sit still. When it came time for silent reading, him and I would have to go on walks through the school. because, and that was just, that was just part of who he is. And do I think, yeah, the autism may have played a part? It's possible.
Yeah.
But that was just, I don't label. I understand what's going on, but he's Hunter.
Yeah.
He just could not sit still.
Tell me about Chloe.
Oh, good heavens. Chloe. So, Chloe and I first met. Chloe came in with her mom, and then her mom also brought her aunt, and Laura also brought, Laura's Chloe's mom. They also brought grandma, and we all sat down and talked and met before school started. So talk about me, then we talked about Chloe and kind of gave me a history of her, and I learned that she was she could be a bit of a handful as far as she could be I think a word was that she was a spitfire. I'm like, okay, I can handle that. And first day of school, I picked her up off of the bus, and we got into the classroom. We sat down, and I learned very quickly that Chloe has she has an attitude, and that is nowhere meant to be an attitude. She knew who she was. She knew how she was trying to get her way, and I was just. She said I had asked her to do something, and she just spat back and told me, and I just threw it back at her. I'm like, no, we're not doing this. So I recognized that she was trying to test me, and then we just had, I could remember she said, I can't remember, she said something and I fired it back, and the teacher just looked and, all right then, moving on. So that's how Chloe and I began. She started testing me and realized some things ain't going to fly, and then it kind of just went from there. But yeah, there was, times where we would line up to go to activity, and she would push through and move, get out of my way. And I'm, Chloe, no, you need to say, excuse me. Oh, excuse me, get out of my way. Well, I didn't specify, so we'll work on that the next time we're lining up to go somewhere. I did find it funny whenever I was told about Chloe and Hunter. They told me that Chloe was a real handful, and she was described as the little princess. And then when they described Hunter to be pretty chilled. And just let him be. First day of school, I think they got that backwards. Because Chloe was pretty content. Chloe was pretty content until you asked her to do something, or asked her to we were going to start another task, or Chloe, can you go get that pencil? Well, I don't know why I need to go get that pencil. Because I asked you to very nicely. And then I had Hunter, who would just bounce off the walls and wanted to do this, and he couldn't. Well, we got okay. He was just a ball of energy. The big thing also too was Chloe was in a stage of where she was starting to recognize. Well, why? She was asking me questions. Why are you here? Why do I need an aid? Why am I different? And I just had the conversation. Chloe, we're all different. You're going to be different from her. You're different from Cheyenne. You're different from me. well, why do you have to sit here? And I would always, well, why do you need my help? Why are you asking Mr. RJ, I need help with this? I need help. I need your help to write. I'm like, exactly. We're all different. I went home. This was at the beginning weeks. I went home and I started thinking about how to help Chloe feel better and recognize that we're all different. I have hearing loss in both ears. I am 60% deaf in both ears. This is something that I've not always been like this. With each ear infection, I had a ruptured eardrum and I would lose hearing from it. I've had 5 sets of PE tubes. My eardrums are scar tissue. I am not qualified, or I was not at the time, to have a hearing aid. I found, thanks to the midnight infomercials, something called Miracle Ear, which is just a little, what looks like an MP3, little small square box, and one headphone. I ordered it and tried it. It's not a medical device. It's not assigned by a doctor. The infomercial advertised it for those who wants to watch TV and in bed and let your partner sleep. You can have the TV on low. So, tried it. It worked. I did not wear it all the time. Quite honestly, I would forget about it. Something I wanted to try. Well, I thought about it, and I rustled through my drawer, and I found I did bring it with me from Alaska, and I had it, so I'm okay. I'll take it in. I picked up Chloe from the bus. We went to the room, and the moment first, right then, she asked, "Why am I different?" It came up, and I was like, "Okay, Chloe, I'm going to show you something." I pulled out my I called it a hearing aid. I was like, this is what I have to wear because I can't hear them that well. So I plugged it in, and I was like, Chloe, I wear it right here. It goes in here, and it helps me hear. So I need a little help too. Just like you need a little help with your hands and you need a little help with writing. And she didn't say anything, and she didn't ask that question again that day. She didn't ask. It kind of helped. It kind of helped, I think, because we didn't have that conversation as often. So I went. I wore it for a few more days, and I kept it in the classroom. And then I also realized myself that I probably should be wearing this because I could hear. Yeah. But the big thing is I wanted to show her that we're all different, and some of us need a little special help.
Now, did you have children after Hunter and Chloe?
After Chloe and Hunter, I was asked to go and assist at another elementary school. And at this elementary school, they had the autism program. And this autism program was something known as a magnet program, which just simply means this is a program the school district offers, and a child that qualifies for this program in the district will be attending this school. So even if they lived outside of the district for this elementary school, they'd bus in. This program consisted of 3 classrooms, and each classroom had a special education teacher and then several para educators. And I was asked to come in, if I could come and help the program. So I packed up my stuff and I moved to Soldier Creek Elementary and was placed into one of these rooms that I had a teacher and then I had 3 other paras, so there was 4 of us. And in this classroom, we had 14 kids, and they all had they were all diagnosed with autism, but they ranged. We were not in a mainstream environment. Like, this wasn't 2nd grade, this wasn't 3rd grade. The kids ranged from kindergarten age to 5th grade. So I went from being in a mainstream room to helping kids to get ready for the mainstream room. And I was not assigned any particular kids. I was just assigned to that room.
Okay.
And it was a huge change for me because I had several years of being in a classroom and I was helping kids that were mainstream to, okay, well now I need to know how to help these kids trying to get ready. I was greeted to this classroom by a student coming in, and they were nonverbal, and they had violent behaviors. And on the first day that I was there, he picked up my coffee cup, which was a ceramic coffee mug, and he just threw it at the smart board, and it just broke into pieces. Completely different than my Chloe and Hunter. And I'm going, I have been to some seminars, I have been to some trainings, I have never been in a room like this before. My mother had some kids with behaviors. But how do I tackle this? So it was starting all over again. And that's what another part of being a para is. We have to be extremely flexible, which was the hard part. Mm-hmm. I'd show up one day and I'd have a new daily schedule. I knew the kids, but I would work with this kid one day, and then the next day I'd work with another kid. So I had to learn what made each child tick. Yes. It became a lot more exhausting. And I was in that program from 2015 to 2018. Okay. So however many years that was.
What did you do after the program?
I was first approached, actually. I was first approached by my principal because they were restructuring the autism program. Mm-hmm. I had finished my 4-year degree, and they were restructuring the program, and they asked if I wanted one of the teaching positions. And at the time, I had just finished my degree, and I only had one. You have to become state certified. Yeah. There was 4 tests. I only had 1 done. But they were no, that's no problem. We can teach under, we can have agreements and you can teach under someone else's licenses. We just, the kids, you know how it runs. We want you, and you have your degree. We can do the testing later. I was like, all right. I declined the job because they offered it to me May of 2018, and then we had a death in the family, and it just, it was a very unexpected death, and I called my principal and told him I can't do this. I'm not ready. So I declined the job. But I did say I am there as your para. I am not leaving my para position. So I began the 2018 school year, and we restructured the program, and I got some more kids, and they were very low functioning, nonverbal, and I'm not very I'm not used to, I'm not used to being around the low functioning students. Not saying I will work with them. I need, some more training. I need some more guidance on what to do with them. So that's what I did. And then I was approached a few months later by Laura, and she had asked me if I wanted to come and work for the History Center.
That's Chloe's mother.
That's Chloe's mother. That's Chloe's mother. She works in the History Center and in the library downstairs. And I guess I should also probably say at the time I was already working at the History Center on Saturdays. She had said that there is a job opening downstairs in the library full-time, and she thought of me and asked me. And I said, well, yes, I think I'm ready for a change. And so I applied for the job, interviewed for the job, and then I got a phone call with the job offer, and I accepted.
When did you start working here? When did you start working at the History Center?
When did I start working
Yes.
here? I started working here full-time February 1st, 2019.
Okay.
I left the schools mid-year.
Mhm.
And before that, I was working at the History Center. I think I started working Saturdays, November of 2013.
What were you doing there?
On Saturdays, I assisted Patricia, who is our technical services librarian.
Mm-hmm.
She needed help on Saturdays to help her with magazines that would come in the mail, and these magazines needed to be processed. They needed to be prepared for cataloging and added to the collections. Mm-hmm. And that was my primary job. I did also assist with any other projects that Patricia may have had, or when the Historical Society started going to the infamous state fair, they had asked me if I would come after working at the school, and if I could come work in the evenings at the state fair. So I would assist Laura with occupying the booth. And the state fair is 10 days long. I worked six evenings that year, and I had a lot of fun doing that. I just want to go on record. I had a ton of fun. I was exhausted, but I had a lot of fun. But please don't tell Chad or Laura that, because then that might become my permanent job. Yeah. But you know what? If that's what they ask of me, my job description is other duties as necessary.
And so you're still at the History Center?
I am still at the History Center. I started full-time in 2019, and I'm still here, and I love it.
You ever see Hunter and Chloe today?
Yes. They just recently graduated high school. Mm-hmm. And I've seen them before then. I have seen them out in public. I'll be in Target, and all of a sudden oh, it's Mr. R.J. And then, of course, that was another problem. When you work with the school districts, you become well known. I was all over the school. I was all over the school, between parents and teachers and kids. And so I would try to go to the grocery store, and all of a sudden I'd hear my name, and I'd be looking around, and it'd be somebody I worked with at the school, or a lot of times it was another kid in the school. There was also times where I didn't hear my name, and all of a sudden I just have little arms around me, and I just throw my hands up, and I'm okay. Well, hello, how are you? Okay. And the same would go for Chloe and Hunter. We'd run into
Yeah.
Sam's Club or Walmart or Target, and then we would have to we'd have to play the catch-up game and in the middle of aisle 5 at Target. And then they did both just recently graduated high school last Saturday, and I can't believe that. I just can't believe that they graduated. I'm extremely proud of them that they walked across that stage. They were wearing the wizard robe and the weird hat, and they got their high school diploma. And through all the challenges, the years I spent with them, the challenges, and knowing that they had the other challenges along the way, and then they graduated high school, and then I'm happy. The last couple weeks have been extremely emotional because I'm happy. I'm proud of them. Now they're out there in the real world. I know Chloe's going to be working this summer. She's got a job. She's got a job, and and then Hunter got to go down, and he still loves cars. And his special ed teacher has connections with one of the dealerships in Oklahoma City, so he got to spend a day test driving cars and learning how to sell cars to other people and talk to people that actually want to talk about cars, which I always wanted to talk about cars. It was a lot of fun. I will say I am going to backtrack to when I did have Hunter. There was an experience. I owned a 2013 Nissan Leaf. That is a 100% fully electric car. Mm-hmm. There's no engine in this car. And there was an incident where Hunter had missed his daycare bus. And I had to call his grandmother, and I was like, we missed the bus, and they came super early. I don't know. You're going to have to come and get him, or he's still at the school. She was not in a position to be able to do that, and she tried calling several people. And I finally, listen, whatever, I'll talk to the principal. I can take him. I have my car, whatever we need to do, whoever you need to speak to is okay. Well, anyways, we went through the proper channels, and I was allowed to take him. We got in my car. We started leaving the parking lot, and I took off into the street. And he started to have a meltdown. And I kept, what's wrong? What's wrong, Hunter, what's wrong? Your car's not making the zoom noise. What do you mean my car's not? We're moving. No, there's no engine noise when you leave. And I'm like, what do you mean? And then at the time I was at a red light, it turned green, and then I took off, and I'm going, my car's not revving like an engine. Okay, how do I handle this? Okay, Hunter, my car plugs in. It doesn't have an engine. Batteries run it. No, that's not right. It's not supposed to do this. I'm thinking, oh my gosh. Okay. How long of a car ride is this? Okay. Because we would finally start going, and he would calm down. a little bit. He was still on edge. You could tell on his face that this just isn't right. This isn't right. This isn't right. And I tell you, I did not. You don't realize how many stoplights there are. And the one time that you're going to hit every single stoplight, because every stoplight I would take off, he would lose it. He just was not having that my car was making a noise. And now that I sit here and think about it, it wasn't, that was not when we missed the daycare bus. This was the time when he was enrolled in flag football for 5th grade. And there was a scheduling problem, and he needed to get to the game, and his grandmother was late. So I took him to the game. Yeah. That's what happened this incident, because now I'm thinking of all the red lights I hit. We finally made it to the school, and I was like, okay, Hunter, you're in your uniform. We're going to go play football. Oh, it's time to go play football. Yes, that's right. So then we walked up to the field, and his grandma was there to meet us. I had to retell the story, and we just laughed. There was nothing we could do. There was nothing we could do, and I'm like, my Hunter is having a meltdown because the car was silent. I don't know what else to do. And that's just a component of autism. He focuses on cars. He loves cars. He knows that sound. We watch videos of cars taking off, and he was he was in a car that didn't make the noise. But those were some of the things that I had to deal with as a working with the kids. Something else you had to deal with working with the kids, and this goes not just Chloe and Hunter, because Chloe and Hunter, let me tell you, both of them, they were brutally honest. I would, if I came in wearing some weird shirt, Chloe would tell me, "Oh, well, that's just god awfully ugly." I'm like, "Yes, thank you. I love the dress you're wearing today too." Goes for all the kids. No filters. No filters.
Sir, this is an excellent interview.
Well, thank you. I haven't revisited a lot of these memories. I'm having to definitely dig back to the back of my mind. I feel like I'm back. I feel like I'm going back to the classroom. Even after I left Chloe and Hunter and I was at Soldier Creek, I was still para. Mm-hmm. I had different duties. I had different kids, and we had training. We'd go to the Special Olympics every year, mm-hmm. and I can't tell you how many times I was, there was definitely some times I was mistaken, and the kids would refer me to their dad, and I'm like, no, I'm not your dad. I am Mr. R.J. No.
Well, again, I want to thank you for the interview.
Thank you.
Yes. And again, this is May 26th, 2022. My name is Joe Todd. This has been an interview with R.J. Wilkins in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Thank you.
Thank you.